The last presentation for this afternoon is from the Anthropocene Institute. Iman ELSHAIKH and Lily Noyes will talk about a subject of great interest, Beyond the Lab, Making LENR Visible.
All right, welcome everyone to our presentation, Beyond the Lab, Making LENR Visible. My name is Iman ELSHAIKH, and I'll be presenting with my colleague Lily Noyes about our work as part of the Solid State Fusion team as part of the Anthropocene Institute.
Hello everyone, I am Lily Noyes, and this is the Solid State Fusion team with the Anthropocene Institute. Of course, none of us would be here without Carl Page, the president of the Anthropocene Institute. Frank Ling, our chief scientist, he makes everything go. Hilda Palencia is our program manager. She supervises all of the work that we do, and she does her best to herd the group of cats that we all are. Matt Opsahl is our web and brand designer. A huge shout out to him. He's kind of the unsung hero of the team. Anytime we make, create, or write anything, he makes it pretty and gives it a forever home on the website. Likewise, big shout out to Jonah Messenger. He's our resident physicist and PhD candidate. He curates all of the research that we have on the website, and he keeps our content honest and accurate. Thank you, Jonah. Gonna skip over Iman and I for now because we're gonna introduce ourselves in just a second. Micah Brown, you've probably encountered him out in the wild over at some of the conferences. He frequently goes to them and captures photos and videos, which he then sends to us to make more content. And of course, Ruby Carrot, she's a consultant on our team, and we've taken a great deal of inspiration from her on work on the interviews and making just like fun and engaging content that will hopefully bring new people into the field.
So a little bit more about us. Lily and I are both passionate about history and communication, but we wear slightly different hats at times. And we've collaborated across many different projects, and it's always been a pleasure and a privilege to work with Lily. A little bit about me. I'm a science communicator and a historian, and I'm currently a doctoral candidate at the University of Chicago, and across two programs I study the history and anthropology of science, and my current focus is my dissertation, which is all about the history of LENR. And a little bit about my colleague, Lily.
Thanks so much for the introduction, Iman. I'm Lily Noyes, and I graduated from UC Davis with a degree in history as well. But of course, my lifelong love is art and graphic design. And I am the social media manager and content creator for the Solid State Fusion project and for the Anthropocene Institute.
So we do a lot of different things on our Solid State Fusion team, but Lily and I have had the privilege of collaborating on projects that help us preserve the institutional memory and scientific legacies of scientists in the field. And this involves a whole bunch of different things that we work on throughout the year. What we're really focusing on at the moment is documenting the careers and contributions of researchers in the field and building an oral history archive that captures all of the experimental milestones in institutional memory of the very diverse field that we have. And it's important for us that the historical record reflects the complexity of the field and its really fascinating history of development. And we really rely on being tethered to the community and expanding our archive so that we can better understand the technical information involved, but also make it available for audiences of various kinds. One of the more visible aspects of this work that you may have seen are our interviews, and they're basically career profile interviews with leading researchers. Many of you in the room have been interviewed for this series, and our goal with this series is to give you a window into the technical information that's involved in a research career in LENR, with also a personal narrative so that you get to know the people behind the science. And we have taken a little break from this series for some time as we prioritized other work, but we are resuming this series this spring with our new interviews with Jacques Ruer and Yasuhiro Iwamura. And we are welcoming new interview subjects for the next batch, so please reach out if you would like to be interviewed or if you would like to nominate someone else to be interviewed.
As mentioned earlier, Iman and I are both historians, and we have a deep interest in preserving the work and legacies of the folks in this field.
We were deeply saddened, of course, by the loss of Mike McCoubrey. And while assembling resources to put a tribute together for him, we realized we had a lot of material to work with and got the idea first for a documentary and then for an archive of all the video that was available for him. I'm sure most of you have already seen it, but we'd like to take this opportunity to share the documentary we've made in honor of Dr. Mike McCoubrey.
Dr. Michael McCoubrey, a brilliant electrochemist and lifelong experimentalist in low-energy nuclear reactions, passed away in August 2025 after a battle with cancer. A beloved scientist, mentor, and friend, he was known for his unwavering curiosity and integrity. As the former director of the Energy Research Center at SRI International, Dr. McCoubrey shaped our collective understanding of LENR through decades of patient, careful experimentation and thoughtful inquiry. Colleagues remember him not only as a sharp mind and talented researcher, but as a kind and generous spirit whose life reflected his belief that science should explore everything and serve humanity.
So the world needs a new primary energy source sometime. And nuclear is so much more attractive than chemical because the energy density of the nucleus is approximately 10 million times greater than the energy density of the electrons that orbit around the nucleus, which is chemistry. So electrons, chemistry, 1 electron volt. Nucleus, nuclear, 4 to 100 million electron volts, 4 to 100 million times larger energy density. So, and just think of what that means. Think of the volume of your gas tank in your car. Now I'm going to say you can do the same thing in that gas tank in a millionth of the space or in a millionth of the mass. It's a pin ahead.
Dr. McCoubrey's scientific journey began in a New Zealand classroom, where a high school chemistry teacher sparked a lifelong passion for understanding the physical world. He earned degrees in chemistry, physics, and geophysics in both New Zealand and the United States. Influenced by renowned electrochemist John Bockris, Dr. McCoubrey developed a unique manner of blending theory with experiment, a balance that would define his career. After completing his doctorate, McCoubrey pursued postdoctoral research at the University of Southampton, where he encountered Martin Fleischmann, whom he described as a genius, a word he didn't use lightly. This connection prepared him for the 1989 announcement by Fleischmann and Pons on cold fusion.
I entered the field mostly because I knew Martin. I knew him to be an extraordinarily inventive and imaginative guy, and I think had it been anybody except Martin, I wouldn't have bothered to go into the laboratory.
At SRI International, Dr. McCoubrey recognized the potential significance of Fleischmann and Pons' claims and convinced the Electric Power Research Institute to fund experiments investigating the phenomenon.
So because I knew Martin, I gave him a 50-50 chance of being right, and I diverted some of the funds from my sponsor at the Electric Power Research Institute to an experimental test of whether whether my old friend was crazy or not, actually. And as luck would have it, we discovered a thermal effect which could not be explained by chemistry or energy storage or any other known conventional process, and could only be nuclear because of its scale. That was in 1989, and I diverted my entire research activity and half of my research group and essentially all of my focus to pursuing that activity, and did so with more or less single focus for nearly 30 years.
As he conducted experiments, he insisted on methodical inquiry and on doing his own research. McCoubrey only accepted cold fusion as real after observing the effects himself, despite trusting and highly respecting Martin Fleischmann.
It wasn't until I saw the effect with my own eyes, in my own laboratory, under my own control, that I was prepared to accept that this was a real thing.
Through decades of research, McCoubrey became one of LENR's most respected voices.
His experiments on the deuterium-palladium system explored the anomalous production of heat, always with care, skepticism, and intellectual honesty. His disciplined approach helped sustain LENR as a field of serious inquiry and inspired many to uphold the same standard of rigor. Of course, Michael McCoubrey was more than a careful experimentalist. He had a philosophical and curious attitude, and he managed to remain open and inquisitive while maintaining high standards. In an interview with Solid State Fusion Explored intern, PhD student, and social scientist LENR, he said, "I do experiments without prejudice," explaining, "I try to learn from the results, and then go back and do another experiment." A self-described rebel and former hippie, he approached science with openness and independence, questioning assumptions and exploring alternatives others overlooked. He lamented mainstream closed-mindedness along with self-censorship and poor communication in the LENR community, urging transparency and collaboration. He believed LENR would only be accepted when it produced a simple, unarguable demonstration or a reproducible experiment.
I think it's time for condensed matter nuclear science, cold fusion, to be anomalous no more. I want it to be normal, interesting physical science. I don't want to curb and hold my tongue in meetings of learned physicists. We need an unmistakable and irrefutable scientific proof that nuclear effects take place in condensed matter by means, at rates, with products different from similar reactions occurring in free space. That is, condensed matter nuclear science is a real thing.
Friends and colleagues admired his humor, generosity, and quiet strength. He remained patient and grounded even when confronting skepticism, believing that truth emerges only through evidence.
There was an initiation period came as a surprise to a lot of the people who attempted immediately to reproduce the effect by levering themselves up from their desks where they had sat for the previous decade and wander into the laboratory and attempt to perform this experiment with a beaker of heavy water and a piece of palladium that they took out of a drawer, expecting to see the result more or less immediately. And when they didn't see the result, they gave up. The honest ones gave up and said, well, I didn't try hard enough. The other ones said, it doesn't work. Well, it didn't work, but then one should really not have expected it to work because they weren't doing what Martin Fleischmann, the preeminent electrochemist in the world at that time, and Stan Pons had already spent 5 years of their lives studying how to do. If it didn't work for them on the first day or in the first week, that really shouldn't have come as a tremendous surprise.
He had a strong sense of his mission and often reminded others that energy research was critical, as energy was the foundation of our way of life. For him, this meant that solving humanity's energy problem was among science's most significant responsibilities. Dr. McCoubrey's work helped shape the scientific foundations of LENR and inspired generations of researchers to tackle complex problems with seriousness and clarity of mind, as well as an undefeated sense of hope. His meticulous experiments, thoughtful skepticism, and steady voice of reason lent credibility to a controversial field. But he never stopped exploring the edges of our collective knowledge, and he understood the stakes of our inquiries, never shying away from confronting them. In retirement in New Zealand, he revisited past assumptions, critically re-examining ideas he once took for granted.
1989, I understood. Deuterium, palladium, got it. Nearly 30 years on, I know a lot less now than I knew then. And my windows of ignorance have opened wide.
His legacy endures in the laboratories he worked in, the colleagues he mentored, and the ethos he modeled, a blend of courage, curiosity, and compassion in the pursuit of truth. Those who knew Dr. McCoubrey will remember his humility, wisdom, steadfast spirit of inquiry, and his generosity. He lived these values in service, both in the lab and in his relationships with colleagues. To quote Marianne Macy, "The future of LENR is due to standing on the shoulders of giants, and Michael McCoubrey was one of them." Even in illness, he remained grateful for the chance to explore the mysteries that first captivated his imagination as a boy. We celebrate Dr. Michael McCoubrey, for his discoveries and for the example he set, a life devoted to the pursuit of knowledge, integrity, and hope. So we happened to start with Macubre because we kind of happened to have like a perfect storm of resources available to us, as Iman had already collected a lot of materials used for writing her dissertation and for preparing for her own interview with him. Of course, we really felt the loss of such great minds lately, including Macubre, Alan Smith, Mel Miles, and Bill Collis, and we'd like to do something similar for them as well, and have already begun collecting resources for Mel Miles. But we don't want to only make tributes and memorials for scientists who have passed. We want to celebrate the lives and work of those who have kept this field going and make your work more broadly accessible. If you have any resources, videos, interviews, presentations, books, ebooks that might help us build more archives and documentaries, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. There will be a QR code later in the presentation that you can scan, or you can email us at ssf@anthins.org. Of course, the documentaries and archives are part of a larger effort to make the lives and work of people in this field more accessible to curious lay people, researchers from other disciplines, and students. As part of this, we've taken a page out of Ruby's book and created cartoons that help break down core concepts and cards that do likewise, as well as build out the vocabulary that is second nature to most of the folks in this room, but fairly esoteric to everybody else. Our hope is that these cards, comics, and cartoons make these things seem a little bit more fun and appealing to those who are unfamiliar with the field, and makes it all seem a little less intimidating, and maybe inspires somebody to get involved themselves. We've also just recently launched a new newsletter. It will feature updates on our work and what's going on in the field, new interviews, new blogs, events, and more. This is the QR code that has all of our various contact info, and it has the sign up link for the newsletter. We'd really appreciate it if you signed up. Very shameless plug there.
All of the different initiatives that we're describing here fall under the umbrella of our broader attempts to improve our outreach and our community involvement. And we're able to do so because so many people and institutions have come before us in the community to do this really important archival work. And we're very grateful for all this important work that has already happened and which continues. And we always appreciate opportunities to collaborate with everyone in this community towards a common goal. And most immediately, in addition to resuming our interview series, we also really want to work on creating commemorative materials honoring Alan Smith and Mel Miles. And we really would appreciate any materials, stories, and memories that members of the community can share. And please also do not hesitate to nominate a scientist or community member for recognition so that we can do our best to highlight the really important work that happens in this community and which forms the basis for the work that Lily and I and our colleagues on the Solid State Fusion team continue to support.
And of course, contact us. We would absolutely love to hear from you. Again, if you'd like to nominate a scientist for highlight, we want to build more archives, more documentaries, what have you. And of course, we want more interviews. So if you have materials, resources, or anything that you would like to share for us, or even if you just have feedback for the Solid State Fusion project, we'd love to hear from you. So get out your phones, scan the QR code, and that'll take you to a link tree that has our contact form, our newsletter, our social media links, and to our website. Can't wait to hear back from you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lily, and thank you to our audience for your attention and your time. We look forward to hearing from you and hopefully to collaborating, and we hope you all enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.